Hi everyone, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 3 of our friendly Dementia Podcast. Say hello to Liam and to Tom.
Am I Liam today? Tom.
Did I just call you Liam again?
You did, but I can be called Liam. That's fine.
No, it's Leon. Sorry, guys.
Well, that actually happened. So we were featured on BBC Northwest Tonight, which is a news station here in the UK.
On Sunday.
Well, most people have heard of the BBC. And I was also Liam then.
Yeah.
So nothing's changed.
It's sticking, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll have to write it on my hand.
What was the reaction like to being on the telly?
I didn't have much, really. One of the neighbours said he'd seen me on it as a superstar, but I can't tell you what I said to him, so he wouldn't put it on anyway. But that's all, really. The people in the pub that are working, they've been all right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice.
And another neighbour, she said it was good.
Oh.
Good.
I think it's nice.
We enjoyed it, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
It was a nice
do it more often.
Yeah. I got a few on my phone because I'd told everyone that I was going to be on it because they wanted to know if I do anything like that. So I told them. They were made up with it.
Oh.
They were really made up. They thought it was great, yeah. And not just because we were on it, but because of what it's doing for people who've got dementia,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, we've had similar responses to it going out there. And even the reporter said to us after, didn't she? She interviewed you both. She said, I do a lot around dementia, but I've never heard this perspective before about living well with it. And and I think that was like, she was surprised by what it was all about and interviewing you, because normally the stories aren't as positive or have a positive slant or looking at supporting and how to live well with it. So that was really nice.
I think most people, well, a lot of people, don't have an idea as to how complicated and complex that it is. And I think Tom would say the same, and Marion and Frank and, people who are looking after us, who you will see later on in the podcast, that it's difficult for them as well, isn't it? As well as us trying to get used to it.
Well, they get forgotten, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
People who look after you.
Yeah.
You're not going to call them carers.
No, yeah.
People who look after us.
Yeah. Supporters. So my new name is Supporters. Because
I thought it was Leon.
No, it's Liam.
Oh, Liam. Oh, well, there you go then.
That was quick. That was good. I like that. So yeah, I'm just going to always think of it as people who support you, because I think that the word carer and Marion and Dawn, when they were on, Marion was Meryl. Meryl was really strong in her opinion that she wasn't Dawn's carer. She was Dawn's wife.
Yeah.
Not her carer. And I think that, there might be a point in the distant future where you might see yourself as a carer and there might be a lot to do. But from the moment you're diagnosed, certainly your spouse or your son or your daughter does not become a carer at that moment, do they?
They're still your wife or your son.
Yeah.
They're not just your carer. I mean, I used to introduce Marion as my carer all the time, which is wrong. She's still your wife first.
Yeah.
And we support her second.
Yeah, and we'll be talking to Hilary, who runs Surf in Liverpool, which I have definitely forgotten what that stands for. It is Surf, isn't it, Hilary? Yeah. Sorry, Hilary's off camera there. Just get the nod. And I forgot what it stands for, but it's all about supporting supporters.
I mean, we get a lot of help somewhere along the line. I don't know, I can't remember where, but the supporters don't seem to get any. Marion used to go to the carers group, and he go for a meal once a month, but I don't think she does that now. I don't know why.
Yeah, well, I think it is a challenge, and it'll be amazing. I know Hilary's so active in the community and really trying to focus on the supporters. And at the end of the day, there is a moment where you probably may turn into a carer at some point, and maybe it might be when in like a medical or a social care term, when someone loses capacity, which is like the official term for, not having capacity to look after yourself. Maybe at that moment you could think of yourself as a carer. But with you guys, there's 8 years and 5.5 years of you just being supported by your husband or in your case, your son, and your daughter, in your case, your son. It'll be fascinating to talk to her about that.
I don't think you have to be a carer to someone like us, in your life ordinarily, you care for people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you just support
them having
a
disease or anything like that. So I think it's got so many complex issues around a carer. And I think, as you said before, someone cares for someone all their life, but they're not classed as a carer and that person is ill, but they still care for them in a way that, you know, they look after them and they do what they need to do. It's like bringing your children up. But I think people find that with dementia and Alzheimer's and any of the other diseases, people lose sight of who they are, like I do, I'm sure you do, Tom, at times. And that happens to carers as well, or support workers, because they lose sight of who they are because they're doing so much to try and make the person or whoever it is they're looking after to be comfortable, safe. And so they lose identity as well. And
he can lose his friends as well, can't he?
Yeah.
And friends is what they need.
Your whole life changes,
really.
like it changes for us. Yeah. It changes for them. And my concern is children who look after parents. And, you know, their life is only just starting, basically, isn't it, as teenagers? And I think that's to me, a very sad side of it.
Absolutely,
children. Yeah.
And we can definitely talk about that. And I'm sure that Hilary has like so much insight to.
Yeah. And it's a good job someone has.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think the health system, I mean, there is respite beds at certain stages for people, but those respite beds where someone who's a supporter can go and stay somewhere, you know, for a night, or there's a respite for the person living with dementia to go and stay somewhere for a couple of nights, so that the supporter or the carer, however you want to call them,
is
have a bit of free time and also a bit of breathing room. But to actually, from my knowledge, where we live, for that to happen, things have got to have got pretty bad because there's so much demand.
Yeah.
That it's not like, oh, you know, you can just go and have a couple of nights respite whenever you like.
Yeah.
There's so much demand for that it only happens in acute situations, in situations where the person, the supporter, is really at their wit's end or has not slept for 3 nights, or, you know, is having their own mental health issues.
Yeah, I think it's the catchment areas as well.
Depends
what area you live in.
Yeah.
Postcode lottery.
Yeah, basically, in some cases.
Yeah, and I think Hilary's got great insight into that, so I'd be really, really interested to talk about that. Do you want to say something? Sorry.
No.
No, good.
That's not very nice.
You tell him.
Sorry.
Tim.
Sorry. I was just checking in. So, yeah, I think we talked a bit last week with Rosie, who talked a lot about meditation and looking at a holistic support around a person living with dementia, looking at the people who support them and including them in meditation, including them in yoga. And she's got a very sort of different approach to it. And we were talking when we were filming on Sunday about meditation. You said that sometimes before bed you'll have a little meditate and just...
Yeah. Because usually by that time your head's more or less, you're thinking of things and things come in your mind. And for some reason, don't know about you, Tom, but things just pop in my mind from years ago. It just pops in when you least expect it and stuff like that. And then you think, oh, why am I thinking about that? And then that leads you on to something else and something else. So what I do now is try and calm my mind before and during the process of getting to sleep. And it's working quite well.
Well, I do. I like going sitting. I've got a pond in the garden.
Yeah.
I sit by the pond. I just go in a world of my own. Really peaceful and quiet,
Yeah.
I won't call it meditation, but it's nice.
Yeah. It's what you need, though, because you don't just have loss of memory. You gain another memory along the way, don't you, of things that you'd never thought that you just never thought about.
We just turn up, don't we?
Yeah.
Come in your head one day and that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, I looked in, after last week's episode, I looked into sort of the latest research around meditation and dementia. And it's actually quite a new field of research into looking at the benefit, but it does seem to be really beneficial.
Yeah.
In the links to this episode, we'll share some links and resources to that. But I think it's potentially really powerful, especially if you're in the early stages. If you
I was just going to say that if you're in the earlier stages.
If you could learn and have meditation as one of the things that you're thinking about, it seems to be that there's a lot more interest going into that about how it could support you. And if you're finding it useful still now, then clearly if you're in the early stage and you start earlier, then it could also be really beneficial.
I think Marion done some, didn't you, the other day? Yeah.
And she's going to a swinging club.
Be able to talk to that.
Terrible, isn't it? Marion going to a swinging club. That's terrible.
Okay. Do you want to...
You're throwing your keys in, Tom?
No. Goal's not big enough. All a swinging is, it's meditation where you sit in a hammock.
Okay.
That's all it is.
Okay. I think Marion mentioned it before.
Yeah.
It's a
more than once.
sound bath.
Sound bath?
Yeah. We'll hear from Marion about the Swingers Club later.
Okay.
Yeah.
When she joins.
That's fine.
And we've been talking a lot about behaviour change and talking about, do you remember what we talked about last week in terms of intention implementation, where you say, okay, I've opened the fridge, I'll have a glass of water, or we were sort of saying, if this happens, then do that. And I know that we've been talking a bit with, just before we came on air, about drinking more water and cutting out sugar. And it's complex, isn't it? Thinking about that consistently and how do you cut it out?
It is, because with water, with me, I only drink it because Frank drinks it. Otherwise, I wouldn't drink. I have water when I take my medication of a morning, so I try to drink a bit more then, and then I have water of a night but I can go the whole day without, and I don't do it consciously. I don't do it on purpose. I just don't get around to thinking about it.
I can use that when Marion says to me, do you want a glass of wine? I say, I only drink wine because Marion drinks it. Sod the water. I know water is good for you folks.
No,
well, you can't drink it. Can you make wine into water?
Well, somebody did.
Yeah.
And he fed a load of people.
Yeah, with a loaf.
Yeah, and a fish.
Yep.
A Warbies. But there are other brands out there.
And we'll come back to that in terms of the water every day, and I think it's something that is a real, it's like one thing, but it's complex. Just thinking
it's important. Yeah, it is
it's
important.
So important to drink so much, for your.
I just forget to do it
for your brain health, and I think that's what we'll come on to talk about is like, how can you use what we discussed last week, which is intention implementation during the day, so that it's like, well, if I open the fridge, I'll have a glass of water, or if it's, Frank comes back for a walk, I'm going to have a glass of water. But that's complicated because when you do have dementia, and I've been researching a little bit about, how that could work for someone living with dementia. Like, you could say that, but how long would that take to ingrain as a thought? And so then it's about having behavioural cues, whether it's sticky notes or...
I was going to say, could you put a sticky note on the glass in the fridge?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And
Drink me.
even just on the fridge, so that every time you open the fridge, there's a little sticky note that says water, exclamation mark. And you think, oh, I did open the fridge, I will have a glass of water.
Yeah,
and stuff like that. Because I know you take a big bottle in...
To work, yeah. I never think of having a drink at home. I wouldn't say, I'll have a drink of water now, just offhand. I just, like when I said before, when I come home from work, all I would do is sit down and everything just goes out my mind then. Even we've got that Alexa telling me to drink and eat and have my tablets, I just don't take a notice of it because I'm not so shattered after work. It takes me a while to get round to sort myself out again.
Yeah. And it becomes sort of easy to ignore. And what do you do on your days off when you don't have the big bottle of water that you take into work when it comes to water?
I would have thought, really, no, I would have thought I'd have a cup of tea in the morning when I get up. And that could be it for the whole day then. Until Melly might come home. Well, she does come home, not might. I might have a drink then. But I just don't think about having a drink of water.
No, I don't.
No.
And it is wrong because it is good for you and it's what it says on the packet.
Yeah.
But you just forget to do it.
You do.
I don't even have a coffee or a tea, actually, once I've had one that Frank's brought me up every morning. And then I won't really bother. Unless I go out with someone, I'll have another drink then. But just don't think about it. It's like food now, like we were saying. Didn't think about it.
It's not interested sometimes.
Yeah, because we were talking about sugar and cutting down sugar and that being, something that's obviously healthy.
Yeah.
For
and it's true, that is.
Yeah. And you were saying it's difficult because you're not that inspired to necessarily eat food, but the thought of having a whole nut chocolate bar brings back good memories. And it's like, oh, I just fancy it.
Yeah.
But then you were saying you couldn't eat dark chocolate.
No.
Because
I know what that tastes like and I know it's bitter. But even though I can't taste it, I don't want it. But I know the chocolate that I like it just feels nice. And so I did try just eating all the hazelnuts out of it, but so instead of all the chocolate as well. But it's just, you just have this total change of diet. Like, I'll eat cake now, where I was never a big cake eater at all. And I love cake.
And you
it's
were
got to be
saying the same,
cream.
weren't you, in terms of sweets and
I like the dark chocolate, but like I was reminded before by my wife, I do eat biscuits and sweets and other stuff that I shouldn't be eating, but I do. But because it tastes nice.
And I think at this point, when we were having that chat before, that's where I said talking about that from what I know is like probably a waste of time. And if we could get a nutritionist on, who
that'd be great.
specialises in dementia and understands some of the neuroscience around taste and how it could be. Because we said, oh, couldn't you just think? Was it someone else said? Couldn't you just think that dark chocolate, for example, is the whole nut? And you're like, no. I know.
I'm not soft.
I think at some point we'll get someone on who is a specialist in this area that could help us think about how do you adapt your diet when you have dementia, and the same with the implementation. Well, maybe we can, as everyone's here today, in terms of your Frank and Marion, we could talk about the water thing and see how we get on with it next week. See if we can make a change in that area, because I think that the more that it comes down to goals, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And if drinking water and cutting out sugar we know is good for us, it's a good place to start. And with the implementation intention for anyone listening, and feel free to share it on, wherever you listen to this. Do you have any goals of what you want to do in terms of, once you have a goal, then it's about working backwards and saying, okay, I want to achieve this. And then how do you think about, okay, if this happens, then I want to do this. Because I'm trying to cut out cake. So what I'm trying to do is, when I'm in the shop and I think, I really fancy something, I'm just thinking, right, if I want cake, buy some nuts. Like, that's the thing that I'm trying to do now, to cut out me buying cake. Or if I walk past the bakery, buy mine, which does amazing gluten-free cakes, by the way. It's like absolutely top drawer. I'm just trying to walk past it, think, okay, I want that. And then I'm going to say to myself, right, then I want go into the shop and buy nuts. Because at least then it's not, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not
And
cake.
trying to think of it in that moment, right, if I want that cake, I'm going to buy some nuts. And now I'm eating so many nuts. I'm like, I'm going to have to stop. I'm going nuts. Yeah, I'm going to have to stop eating nuts because I'm just eating too many nuts every day.
Yeah, because you're only supposed to eat a little few, aren't you?
Well, exactly. And now I'm eating like a whole bag of nuts.
Well, I'd do that. If I switched from chocolate and went to nuts, wouldn't I, Frank? Because I do buy them sometimes when I think I'm going to be healthy.
Yeah.
And then I have to eat them.
I know.
I just can't.
So we'll get a nutritional specialist on some point in the next 4 or 5 weeks and see what they think about what we can do there.
It's not just about anyone with a neuro
No, absolutely,
problem, because there's a lot of people out there now who are seriously not eating sugar when they're diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
And post-chemo, post-surgery, and they said their lives are turned around with it.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I, in terms of how I used to eat or what I used to get up to before I had alopecia, I mean, I've never felt better. And I've been saying to people recently, I think it'll be the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
Because my diet, my exercise, like the amount I meditate, the other things that I do, I've never physically felt better, in my whole life. And I'm like, just past 40 now.
I think you always feel better when you're doing something that's good for your body.
Yeah.
Even if I eat chocolate and I can't taste it, I feel bad after I've ate it. So, and then Frank will come round and say, there's another one in the fridge.
I have days when I get a really sweet tooth every now and again. I've got to have a
sometimes you don't.
sweet.
Yeah.
And then after that, I don't want it again.
Yeah,
Every now and again, it's really, really craving for something
That's
sweet.
right. Yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll feedback next week on how it went with the water, and we'll probably talk afterwards about
no problem.
what we'll do. But yeah, thanks for joining us, and we're going to invite the lovely Marion and Frank now. And
Does that mean we've been
You're
sacked
welcome.
now?
You've been sacked.
We've been bin bagged on.
That's it. Over
just
and done with.
for half an hour.
That wasn't for long, was it?
Oh, thanks. We'll have a little
Give
break
someone else a go.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, as you said on the BBC, you're now Richard and Judy, so you're becoming famous.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
on the
UK.
BBC. That's Granada, isn't it? Marion was on Granada. She was interviewed about me
Oh,
being a nutter, yeah. By what's her name now? Nina Hussain interviewed her.
lovely. On that note, we'll have a little short break.
Yeah.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah. Lovely.
Thanks.
Bye now.
Bye now.
We really hope you're enjoying this podcast. We want this to be one of the best free resources for any family affected by dementia. With your help, we can build the biggest community in the world for supporting, guiding and comforting everyone who faces cognitive issues and the people around them. So please hit that subscribe button or share it with someone who needs it.
Welcome back, everyone. My pleasure to introduce new listeners to Marion, who is Tom's wife. Hi, Marion.
Hi.
And Frank, who is Fran's husband.
Hello.
And Hilary Tetlow from Surf. Welcome.
Thank you.
And yeah, so we're here to talk about supporters, as we've just talked about, and hear about your organisation, Hillary, and the work that you get up to. You're amazingly active. In fact, it was very difficult to get you on this podcast because you're so busy. You're amazingly active in the community of organisations and people supporting people with dementia, and you're really focused on supporters, carers of people living with dementia. So yeah, we'd love to hear about your journey really, and how you got into this and what you get up to.
My journey into looking or being involved with dementia started off with probably about 20 years ago. An aunt who had dementia, but as she didn't die till she was 98, she still had a good innings of having dementia, and she had vascular dementia. And then my mum, about 15 years ago now, developed dementia. And I don't really have any other family here, so I gave up my role, which was nothing to do with health service. I was a consultant in fashion merchandising. And so I gave that up to look after my mum, and I looked after her at home until she died, which was about 11 years ago now. But in the meantime, her brother, my uncle, also developed dementia, and as his family all were spread to the wings, he lived over on the Wirral, and I used to look after him as well.
Oh.
And he went into a care home, and he eventually died as well. But he had vascular dementia. So I've been around lots of different types of dementia. And I decided it was too late to go back, because even though I'm a child looking after, I am the child. I am still now 70, so I was past the age of going back to work, really, because I used to work all over the country. And I decided I couldn't do that anymore. Get in the car. I still get in the car a lot and drive all over the place, but not quite in the same way. And I'd started doing things within dementia to keep my mind going, really, because it went from a very cerebral type of job to a physical job of looking after somebody with dementia. Especially when they started going downhill, there was a lot of physical things you were doing with them and helping them, and not so much keeping up with them. I mean, I knew that my mum wasn't right when she couldn't do a crossword anymore. I could never do a crossword, but she was brilliant at them.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things. And it just became that I had to do something to keep me going. So I got involved in the health service, trying to find out what was around in social security and things like that to do with people with dementia, and what could I do to help. And at the time, it was the time of David Cameron's cry for dementia, and DAAs were set up, Dementia Action Alliances, and SURF, which is Service Users Reference Forum, which is part of the DAA in Liverpool. And we look after the person with dementia and their carer, but we are a campaigning organisation side of it. And we have speakers every month. We have a meeting every month. We have speakers who come to talk about things that they're doing, and then we tell them whether we think they're doing it right or wrong. We are quite vocal. I'm sure Leon has heard us.
I have, yeah. I've been to a couple of meetups, yeah.
Did you set the group up?
Well, we set it up early on. I was in the very beginning of the group, and I've ended up as the person running the group now. So I'm the chair, the secretary, the treasurer, and everything else, because although we have about 30 plus people coming, it's not everybody. They'll give themselves, but they won't necessarily give extra time to these things.
Yeah.
So I give the time and I do all these things. But I'm also part of Liverpool Dementia Action Alliance. And I'm also a trustee of Dementia Liverpool, because we've just set up a charity last year to turn it into, so that we can go after more money to do more things. So I'm involved in lots of things, but I've also set up carers groups and involved in other carers groups to make sure they keep going, singing groups, all sorts of things in Liverpool. We must have, well, on the leaflet I do, we've got 7 groupings, but they meet more than once. Some of them meet more than once a month. So we're quite active trying to make things go.
What do you do in your spare time?
In my spare time, I'm lead governor of Merseycare. I work with MRIC, which is the Mental Health Research Institute in Liverpool, which is part of the university and part of Merseycare. I do a lot with Psychological Professions Network. And I could go on for a bit longer, but I won't. So I never, my day is as full now as when I worked, if not more full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get you obviously have a strong sense of purpose with the impacts that you're having.
Yeah. And part of it is because you want things to be better for the next set of people coming through.
Yeah.
And it's got to improve, and things have to be better. And it's also, on the caring side, it's telling people who've loved ones have recently had a diagnosis, don't let them just sit in a chair. Get them out, get them doing things, keep them moving. Because the worst thing is to just sit them and leave them, which they may want to do, but that's not good for them.
Absolutely, yeah.
You need to get them keeping in with activities and anything else that we're doing, or find new ones for them to do.
Because Marion, that was kind of Tom's experience, wasn't it, very early on in the diagnosis?
Yeah.
That he just wanted to not do much.
Yeah, I made sure that I didn't do everything for him. I made him do stuff, and even like I'm still working. I work part-time now, but I'd give him little tasks to do while I was at work, so it'd keep his mind busy as well. So he's not just sitting there moping round and feeling sorry for himself.
Yeah.
Because Fran was the same. She was like she is the mainstay of our relationship, and she looked after all the banking and everything. She'd done everything. So we decided to keep her as normal as possible. She would carry on as long as possible, looking after everything and doing and phoning people up about bills and such. And that she's still managing it.
Yeah. And would you say that's normal that partners and supporters, carers, whatever you said, or are they?
I think it depends where the person with dementia is in their journey, because some people get their diagnosis quite early. Other people get it a lot further down because they don't want to go. They don't believe there's anything wrong with them. And you're waiting on a doctor in your local surgery saying, I think there might be something else a bit wrong. We'll do some tests with your blood first of all and see, and if we can't find anything there, we might, and they'll do the 20-question test on you and say, well, we'll refer you to, in Liverpool, it's Lemos, but it could be anywhere, but your local
specialist
sector, and you'll go and see them. And they will say yes or no. But whether you get any help from that point onwards is very much dependent on you, because it doesn't matter where you get your diagnosis. You have to want to take it up and do something about it and move forward with your loved one, because otherwise you'll be forgotten. But also some of the things that you can have, which aren't very many, but some of those things, unless you have a diagnosis, you can't use. But people don't know about them. I mean, you can get reduced council tax. You can get, if you live on your own, you don't pay council tax at all. If you live with your partner or loved one, it's 25% off your council tax.
Can I ask why then that we've got our son living with us, so we're not entitled to it, but he's got his own learning disability as well. So in the case, if it was I was living with either Kieran or Tom, we would get it because there's only 2 people in the house, but both of them have got a disability and I'm still not entitled to it.
And I can't tell you why. It's one of those things of law that's how it's been done. You're only allowed, well, in theory, it says you're only allowed to look after one person, isn't it? The fact is that that doesn't work that way, and life doesn't work that way. You have to look after 2.
Oh, right.
But in theory, that's what it's saying. But, and then there's attendance allowance for the person. They're entitled to attendance allowance, but it depends on how independent they are, how much attendance allowance they'll be entitled to.
Yeah, but these Fran and Tom have got young onset dementia, so when they were diagnosed, they were under 65, so it wouldn't be attendance, it'd be PIP.
Right. Yeah. And that's again another problem, because all PIPs are now being reassessed, aren't they? And one of the things that they do about PIP is that you're not entitled to certain things, or if you're too good at something, you'll lose your PIP.
Yeah.
And, another of those sort of things is never fill in a form and say you're having on a really good day. Fill in the form on an average to bad day and say, this is the best I can be. Because otherwise you won't get anything, because they'll say, oh, well, this is how they are most of the time. And you think you're doing well by saying, I'm having a really good day and whatever. And how many of those do you have really in a week?
Yeah.
So you have to think about what you're doing and how you're expressing some of these things.
It's quite hard because when I took Kieran for his assessment for PIP, I told him that I'm not going to say anything good about you because I'm only going to say the things that you can't do. And like he was at the time, he was only young. Well, he would have been most probably 18, 19. And for somebody to say all those things, it's horrible. It's horrible. I felt awful, but I had to warn him what I was going to say because, you know, he did struggle. Well, he still does. You know, he needs support, but I can't say the things that he could do because he wouldn't get the support he needed.
No, it is a horrible thing because you sit in and I always find that people with dementia are usually great with medics. You'd think they hadn't got dementia half the time when they see a medic. It's as if that white coat or the sign on the door saying DR or whatever flashes in their mind and they become totally normal and they give this and you're sitting there saying, that's not what they're like. They don't do that. You know, they don't do this or they don't do the other. And it's very difficult to have to say that in front of them. This person doesn't do that. That's not how they behave. This is different. I mean, when my mum had her assessment it was really quite funny. We had somebody come from Blackpool to fill in the paperwork in those days because you had a form of about an inch of paperwork, and they came from DHS in Blackpool or whatever. And every time the page turned over, Mum would say, "Oh, that's an awful lot of paper. That's an awful lot of paper." And I thought, well, she's playing into my hands here. Just keep on saying it, because she would say the same thing for the, you know, the inch of paperwork. And he said, she will be getting the full assessment because of how she was on that day.
Does that resonate with you, Frank, at all?
Well, yeah, people don't sort of have no comprehension what it's like living with someone with dementia, because when, like, Fran's quite okay quite a lot of the time, but it's only when you're with, like, someone 24 hours you get a full view of their actual behaviour. And it's, you know, as a supporter, you see a lot of change and a lot of things going on, but someone could come in to do an assessment for, say, half an hour and she would be really well and she'd fly through it, you know, and it's just, you know, it's mind-boggling sometimes that the idea that someone can walk away with this view of Fran that, you know, they haven't got a real view of it, you know.
Yeah, it's quite complex.
I think as well, the sort of, I know, like, we've been out with friends and Tom's been fine. He's had, like, joking with them, having a good night. And the friends will say, no, he looks great. You wouldn't think he's got dementia, the obvious. And then getting in a taxi home and complete silence. It's just taking it out of him and he can't keep up the act anymore.
To put that effort in.
So he's back to, you know, what you see, you know.
Well, Fran's the same. You know, I said to Diana, friend, she says she's really, Fran's great, and Fran's great. And I said, you don't really see her sliding down the door when she shuts the door after she said goodbye, and she goes, oh, you know, like, and she's like, you know, barely, you know, hold herself together.
Because it's a lot of energy, Dr. Ivan talked about how hard it is, how complex it is to just have a conversation and how taxing it is on the brain, but why it's so good to force yourself to do those conversations, but then it takes it out of you.
Yeah, I said to my mum once, why will you talk to other people and you don't talk to me? And she said, you know. And that was it. And it was what I knew, in truth, that I knew that her actually talking to people and being involved that used up all her energy.
Yeah. And do you think that's then a big part of being a supporter? You know, someone who supports someone living with dementia is understanding the energy that they have for certain things and how to manage that.
Well, I would say that we look after their human rights and we make sure their human rights are not curtailed, but at the expense of our own.
Well, let's say like a practical level, like today, like people always see this podcast and see Fran and Tom being very funny and laughing and joking and doing a good thing and that. But I know Fran, as soon as we get home, she'll be on the couch like poleaxe type thing, you know. She'll just be like, oh.
Tom will be the same.
Yeah, because the energy that it takes out.
Yeah.
And do you both think that it's a good thing that they do the podcast?
Oh, definitely. I mean, they've got to have some focus. And like, as I said before, like we try to get Fran living as normal life as possible, you know, looking after bills or engaging in like, you know, people like, you know, telephone conversations, like phoning cable if there's something probably wrong.
Yeah, me and Fran talk 3 times a week.
Yeah, so, you know, anything that focuses their mind is good. You know, it's sort of, you know, like even on something like Fran's friend's sister sadly passed away, but she was supporting her friend through the whole process. So, you know, her mind was like focused on it and then, and she was occupied and she was worried about her friend and that. So, you know, from something as extreme as that to the podcast, like anything that brings their mind to bear on a subject, it's also quite good for them.
What do you think, Marion?
I think Tom really enjoys it and it's really good for him. It keeps him going. He just wants to make sure that he could help somebody else. And he keeps saying, if I can just help one person, it's worth it. And I'm sure he's helped more than one person.
Absolutely, yeah.
But he absolutely loves it. And I never thought he'd do anything like this. I know both Fran and Tom have said they would never have done this before.
Yeah.
There was like, this is out of Tom's comfort zone.
But they love it now, don't they?
I know. The professionals now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Richard and Judy.
Yeah.
We'd hate to say.
Amazing. And I think that sense of purpose it was in the book that I've referred to in episode 1 about an ageless brain. And if you have a sense of purpose and a why you want to live well, why you want to get off the couch and why you want to go and do a podcast or why you want to go and give talks at universities like Fran still does, why you want to do all this, like, you know, Tom wanting to help one person with, you know, who's been diagnosed. If there's a sense of purpose there, and a bit like you, Hillary, I mean, you're non-stop all day, every day, and you're involved in so many things. That sense of purpose, I have a sense of purpose doing this podcast. If you have that sense of purpose, it spurs you on to take action, doesn't it? I know Fran said many times where she says, oh, do I want to do that? And then she says, no, come on, I've got to get up and do it. And, you know, she's out there and meets friends and gets the bus on her own still and all that. So I think that sense of purpose is huge. Would you agree with that?
I think it is a sense of purpose and what you do. It's good for you because it makes you feel better as well.
Absolutely.
And if, to an extent, you wouldn't do it if you didn't want to do it. So there is some wanting within everybody to actually do something. But I think any supporter in that is there because they want to do more. They want to do more too for other people, looking after other people.
Absolutely. And what are some of the things that, you know, because there is limited support maybe from governments, and I see that around the world because I'm part of a few Reddit communities that has a lot of Americans and some Australians on, and there does seem a bit of a lack of support generally once you've been diagnosed with dementia, unless you've got millions of pounds maybe and you can do whatever, but there is a general lack of support from government maybe for, you know, couples or someone living with dementia. What are some of the things that you promote or that you see that can really support the supporter?
Supporting the supporter is getting them involved in community groups that are very often to do with dementia, because the people there know what's likely to happen, dare I say, but also can support because perhaps they've been there before and they've done something and suggest, oh, how about trying this with that person? That might be easier for them. And giving them sort of tips and things. They may work, they may not work, but tips are always very helpful in how somebody is, their behaviour changes or things like that. And that makes a big difference.
Yeah, we've talked about that before, the importance of community, not just for the loved one who's maybe living with dementia, but also for that supporter.
But it is a support for the supporter too, because the things that I run, has been for most of the time, bring your loved one with you. The fact that it's called a carers group is a misnomer in a way, because it's bring your loved one, because you don't necessarily have somebody else who can stand in and help. Gone are the days when in 3 roads round you, all your family lived and everything else, because now they're spread all over the country. So you have to do a lot of that looking after yourself. So you take them with you, and we say, sit at the table, and everybody moves round to wherever, or conversation are going over one side is a set of carers, and over this side can be the people with dementia and somebody else sitting in with them and just chatting with them. So there's no cut off as to who can come and who can be involved and who can speak, because they can all speak. The fact is that a lot of people with dementia, eventually the speech goes because it's too difficult. It gets too involved to think of doing anything more than saying a sentence that you can answer yes or no to eventually.
Yeah.
But it still allows them to come to things and listen, because the last thing that goes is hearing. And in fact, that doesn't really go, I don't think, until the person dies. And even when my mum didn't know me, she knew my voice. So I would go in every morning and say, "Morning, Mum, it's your daughter Hilary here," to get her ready for the day that was coming. And she was fine with that, because she knew it was a voice that was a comfort to her. It wasn't somebody who she didn't like or she didn't know, and that sort of thing. And that makes a big difference to them.
And have you found that, Marion, since finding a community in terms of Sedgemoor, have you found that you felt more supported and known more? Yeah.
Yes. It's great that we go there and I can talk to other supporters. Tom can talk to other people with dementia. Tom's really got a lot out of Sedgemoor, because sometimes he thought, I'm not sure if I have got it, they might have got the diagnosis wrong. But then when he saw people the same as him and at the same level as him, he's going, yeah, I think I have got it. But it's nice that you've got the community there and there's people there to support you as well. And you can just talk about whatever you want, or if something happens and saying, well, this happened this week. Someone say, oh, that's happened to me. And you feel, you're not alone.
And how did you feel before you found that group? And when Tom was diagnosed, maybe well, I think he said last week he gave up cycling, didn't he? Because he thought, I can't do that anymore. And it's 8 years in, and he did 27 miles this summer. But so when he was like drawing back from things, and then you didn't have a community around you, how was it for you?
It was very hard, but I did get involved with Carers Trust. So I went to a few meetings with them, but they're not all dementia. It was just all types of carers. I thought I needed something or someone to talk to, but talking to people that are going through the same as me, the same age as us, that was the big difference, is finding the right groups, age appropriate.
Yeah.
That made a hell of a difference to us.
And how about you, Frank?
Well, I haven't been very fortunate, really, because I haven't really needed any support as it was, because we've got like a really good circle of friends, got a circle of family. I mean, Fran's got quite a lot of friends that I'll go out with. She takes shopping and everything, and like I've got 2 children, 2 sons and a daughter. I take them shopping, and like my sons come round, go for a walk Saturday morning, I go watch the match with my youngest son and my grandson Jack. And they're all there and involved. The whole family's sort of involved in, like, with Fran and that. You know, as a family, we're still quite close together. So I no point do I feel on my own or anything. But I know that must be a unique position, having a really good family and a set of friends.
Hilary, wasn't it? I think Frank's experience might have been the experience for most people 40 years ago or 50 years ago, because everyone was around the corner but it's just not the reality, is it?
They're not such even around the corner, my family, but they are.
But they make the effort.
Basically,
That's very lucky if they're within an hour of you or something like that. Most people are a lot further away. And as their children grow up, very often your children, as their children grow up, they want to be doing things and they don't necessarily want to come and see grandma or granddad and be stuck in with him. You know, so weekends become difficult then, and then it's, can I get up in an evening to see somebody and get back again? And it's all time. And these days, time is a very precious thing for families. So it becomes very difficult.
I mean, our three children, like they said, they come every other Monday now for tea. And like we all have tea together and we have a really good laugh and that, you know. So they're, even though they're in the 40s now, you know, it's sort of, and they are close themselves. And like, you know, we've always encouraged this like thing about, you love each other. Everybody says they love each other when they put the phone down and that, you know. So it's also, you know, it's, as I say, I'm very fortunate. We are very fortunate with our family.
I think so, yeah. I mean, my dad lives in Cannock, so it's about 2 hours away. My mum lives in Spain. So if anything like that were to happen there, you know, they are, you know, miles away and hundreds of miles away in my mum's case. And it's very normal these days, isn't it? And you must see a lot of that, Hilary.
Well, I see that. But I mean, I do have a brother, but my brother lives out in France and has lived out there for 35 years. So his experience of my mum was, oh, well, get her out and do some more walking. Tell her to go out and do this and do that. And I'm thinking, no, I'll never get her back. She won't know where she's gone to.
Yeah.
You know, and things like that. And I'm going, he just doesn't understand.
And that is the weight and the responsibility. It does tend to fall to one person, doesn't it, if you're not lucky enough to be in Frank's situation. But I think, like with you, Marion, I think the weight and the expectation, everything was you felt like it was on you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because we couldn't really get Kieran involved. So it all came down to me. And we haven't got a big family. We've only got Kieran. We haven't got any others. I've got a sister and brother. Tom's not as close to his family as I am to mine. So his family haven't really been involved. But I know if I need the support, I can go to my brother and sister. And I've got a really good group of friends that support me. And my work colleagues, really good.
No, I used to look after a care home many years ago, and some of the residents were lucky if they got a visit off the family once a year, you know.
I think it is for carers or people looking after supporters, however you want to define them. I think it is important for them to have a good group of friends who they can. I mean, when my mum was dying, my friend down in Cornwall, who I've known all my life, I said, oh, they've put the shunt in now, and the nurse was coming the next day to check on everything, and there was a ring on the bell when she came, and I said, oh, she said, any coffee going? And she'd driven up from Cornwall to see me for a couple of days.
Amazing.
And the other groups of friends, they made sure that any day until my mum died, I was not on my own. There was somebody there.
It's so important. Well, that's what I've come to realise, how the supporter is supported and how they should, as much effort as they're putting into, you know, if you've just been diagnosed or you've been in the middle stages, late stages, as much effort as they're putting into that side of it, they need to think about themselves from day one. That's what I would say from my experience so far is that person, when you get diagnosed, it's so easy to just focus all the attention there. But what about you? How are you going to live for the next, hopefully, 5-10 years or whatever it is, 15 years? How are you going to be supported?
Part of that is supporting other people. And that's why you could say these carers groups are there. But you may make a really close friend from one of them who you then support while their family is still around them and their loved one is still there. Because, I have friends who I've rung every day, and I still ring them every day, even though their loved one has now died. I have a group of about 20 people who every morning I send a little saying and a happy, have a good day and things like that, because they're associated with various things, whether it be mental health problems or physical health problems or whatever, just so that they know somebody's thinking about them. And that's just part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. It's so powerful, isn't it? And I think we keep going on about it, but I don't mind being repetitive, because I think it gets the message out there even stronger that finding community, if you have been diagnosed, or maybe you're in the early stages and you haven't found community or you haven't made the effort, is just massively important, isn't it? And we've got George coming on next week, who's 11 years since diagnosis, and still, touch wood, doing well, and joined the gym 4 months ago. So we'll be interviewing him, and he said he's met the best friends of his life in the last 11 years because he's thrown himself into the dementia support community to talk and to support others, and he's now talking to those people on Zoom all the time. We'll hear more about that, and I think that's a common experience, that people are meeting amazing friends just through through these groups that, like what you run.
I think that's true. I think they do make friends, and they make friends that will carry on with them for a long time. Yeah. And that's important. Absolutely. That's important to both the carer and the person with dementia.
I do think it's very hard to put yourself first.
Oh, yeah.
I still struggle with that. I always think of if I'm going to plan something, well, what I'll do with Tom, I don't want to leave him too long and things like that. I do. But I have to make the effort to look after myself.
That's why I say about human rights, yours go down the pan, because you're looking after somebody, you make sure they're all right, you make sure you do everything for them. And, I'm not feeling very well today. I won't, I wouldn't even think of ringing the doctors or doing anything about what's wrong with me, because I looked after my mum. I used to lift her, carry her and do all sorts of things. And I was fine until she died. And then I had the most terrible sciatica for about 6 months, because I'd been carrying and doing those things, all the things you shouldn't have been doing. You shouldn't really do on your own, but there wasn't any help around. So what you do it. But that's all part of these things. Yeah. Isn't it? Yeah. You do for them and you don't think about yourself. So that's the thing. You need somebody else around to be able to just phone and say, how are you today? How were things? I
think a lot of people are like you, where they struggle to put yourself first. And it's not necessarily the best thing in the short, medium or long term. But then it's really hard.
Yeah. And Tom keeps telling me all the time. But
because he's very positive about you. You know, just don't worry about me kind of thing. But then him saying that doesn't make it the easiest thing to do.
No.
Doesn't help at all, does it? Dare I say. Yeah.
Awesome. It's been amazing to have you on, Hilary, and hear about your work. And, we're trying to hopefully do this podcast every week. And we're also trying to, create a little community, because I think that, I think you've said an event I saw where actually in Liverpool specifically, we're quite lucky with the amount of support around and the amount of groups compared to other cities and other areas. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. We don't think we are, but we are actually. If you go to other places and try and find out about things, we do an awful lot in in the city to do with dementia, and we campaign a lot in the city for dementia and having things done for people in the city with dementia.
And so I think that with the podcast, what we want to do is almost bottle up a lot of that good stuff that happens in Liverpool for people with dementia and supporters and families, and how can we share all of that knowledge to other people in other areas, but then create a community around the podcast. So we'd love to have you back on at some point and hear more about your work and get into it even further detail. But thanks so much for coming on, and thanks Frank for coming on and talking so candidly, and Marion as well. It's been a pleasure. So we'll have a quick break and then we'll come back and we do this thing which is like a bit of reminiscence corner where we show a clip from an old episode and we have a little chat about it, if that's all right. If you don't mind hanging around for that, that'd be great. Thanks.
We hope you're enjoying listening to our podcasts.
If you'd like to come on the show,
you can get in touch with us.
If you're a scientist or a health expert.
If you're living with dementia or you're supporting anyone with dementia.
Then drop us a line.
You can email us on hello@fightingdementiapod.com.
You've got dementia. So on that day she told me, I got told that, lost my driving licence and lost my job all in one day. And it just hits you for 6.
That's a lot.
When I did get actually finished, it took them 18 months to sort my pension out and everything else.
Right.
We had letters from the mortgage company threatening us all sorts. But we knew we had the money there to pay them, but it just took so long to get it. But we got it in the end and it's all done.
Yeah.
But I just needed to be diagnosed earlier.
Yeah.
That's all. And part of it was my fault. But I don't think the doctors realise sometimes what's going on. Because they're not specialists, are they?
No.
They're just GPs.
Yeah.
And the one I had my MRI scan, and according to our GP, who I think was a locum, said there was nothing wrong with me.
Right.
Then I went and seen the consultant, and she said,
there you go. So that was Tom talking about when he was diagnosed, and I think he mentioned stuff about mortgage and stuff about
pensions,
the lag and pensions and all that. So I thought we could just have a brief chat from your experience of that, but then also maybe Hilary, from some of your experiences of some of the logistics of around that time, recommendations and support, and just have a little chat really. So do you want to start, Marion, with how it was for you?
Yeah, well, it was just the time it takes to get everything sorted. So Tom was on the sick at first, and then he ended up on half pay, but Tom was the main earner. So my wages and half Tom's wages wasn't covering everything. And in the end, I said, we just can't pay the mortgage because we're going to pay it off as soon as Tom's pension came through. So that's what we did. But the mortgage company, they were every time I was speaking to them, they just wouldn't listen to us. So that was really stressful for us. And then also you've got the stress of coming to terms with a diagnosis and trying to chase up people for his pension. He'd had to have assessments and everything. And even the report came back saying that he wasn't fit to do his job and the pension would come through. But it just took so many months. And even the diagnosis, getting to the GP was fine, and the GP referred him to the memory clinic. But because of his age, everyone was saying he's too young. And so we were having assessments, and he always failed the memory part of it. And some of them he could pass, but some of them they couldn't. But they still said, no, it's not dementia, he's too young.
And having lived through that, what advice would you give to someone, maybe in the early stage, maybe to someone who's got young onset, they might still be working?
I wouldn't listen to the professionals until you see that consultant, because Tom had seen somebody 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the appointment with the consultant, and it just hit us like a bombshell, even though we know why we're going to the appointment, because so many people were saying to us, you know, it won't be. You've got to make sure you keep that in your mind. It's still a possibility. I'm not too sure about like the finance side, how you cope with that. You just, if we'd been with a different company, they might have been a bit more sympathetic.
It might be unique, depending.
You know, So, but, you know, once everything came through and we got everything sorted, you know, it was such a relief for us. And we could get, you know, once his pension came through and we got ourselves, you know, financially stable in the end, you know, it was just a burden that was taken off us.
Yeah. And how about from your knowledge and experiences of all the supporters that you've
I think
helped?
part of the thing is young onset is really difficult because they don't believe, first of all, most people will say, oh, they're too young to have dementia, thinking that it's over 65s will have it. And it's not. And it's getting more prevalent in younger people. But to get it diagnosed, you're going to have at least 2 scans. And what they're going to look at is one at least 6 months later, because you won't see it in. So it may be 6 months or it may be a year later before they do a second scan, before they will actually say, yes, this person has got dementia, because that's what they're looking for in the scans of the brain. So it takes a lot longer because they will try and say, oh, it could be this or it could be that or it could be the other. And it will take a long time to do it. So I would say young onset dementia, probably between 1 and 2 years to actually come back and say, yes, it is young onset dementia. And that brings all sorts of difficulties because some people can continue in their job for a while longer, but it depends what you do. I mean, I knew somebody who was a train driver. He couldn't drive a train anymore. They weren't going to let him do that, you know. So that means you're immediately out. And it also depends on what you've been doing. He'd spent lots of money on various different things. So they had a terrible problem with money because of he'd been spending and she didn't know about it. And so there's all sorts of other things that go on. Yes. And it is that, do you need help from a solicitor? Do you need something else to write letters to say to them, this will be, you know, this is happening? Or who can I get to help me? And it is difficult because, you know, most people aren't having to deal with that. Depending on what's wrong with you, a lot of things, you know, if you have cancer, there's a lot of other people who will help you do things, but there isn't that for people with dementia. It's back to the family again. Yeah.
One of our listeners who's part of the group was telling me about they've been on Reddit, which is like a social media, but it's a bit more involved. It's a lot more written media. And there's actually some really active groups on there where you could say your unique situation. And some people post, you know, 200 words of really what's going on and this and that. And it's surprising the community that's on there that they'll get 10 or 20 messages really trying to help them with their very unique problem. So and for any listeners out there maybe thinking about these things or struggling, I'd really recommend Reddit because it's quite a helpful community of people on there. And obviously you've got things like the Alzheimer's Society, but with things like the Alzheimer's Society or other places, it might be quite generic and it might be hard to get the specific support for your you know, or ideas of what to do in that situation. Is there anything else that you could point to?
Well, I was going to say one of the main things to try and do is to get financial powers of attorney and health powers of attorney in as soon as possible, because otherwise you're going to have problems later on. And so you need to have those are done. And really, those you can do at any age.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
for any reason, you know.
Yeah. I've got it for my mum just to do with her pension thing because it was easier and she didn't want to deal with. So, yeah, and it's quite an easy process to do, isn't it?
Yeah, you can do it yourself online, or you can go to solicitor and they'll do it for you.
Yeah.
But those sort of things are quite important to get so that you can take over some of that from them. Because I can remember with my uncle, his mobile phone, of all things, which he couldn't use anymore, and I wanted to get rid of. They wouldn't talk to me because I wasn't the person who had the phone.
Of course.
And you're going,
Jesus.
well, he can't speak to you because he doesn't speak really anymore, and he wouldn't understand and whatever else. And it's like, this is a nightmare.
Shows you how important it is to sort those things. And what about for you, Frank, in the early days in terms of some of the logistics around finances? And did you get any support? Did you look for support? Or?
Well, once again, we were quite fortunate because Fran was already semi-retired, and she was a nurse. So she realised very early on she was struggling with some stuff in work, and she immediately felt it was quite dangerous for her to carry on and when she approached the line manager and that, you know, they both agreed. So it was a very quick process coming out of work, but it wasn't so quick getting the diagnosis because once again, because it was young onset, I always remember the consultant saying, if you were 10 years older and you had these symptoms, we'd say you had dementia. And we were like, well, if we have them symptoms now or 10 years' time, like, you know, it's still dementia, you know. And so pension-wise for Fran, it was all pretty straightforward with the health service. But the actual diagnosis, that was where we struggled a bit, you know.
Awesome. Great. Well, thanks again for all of your time. It's been a pleasure, and I really hope that was helpful to the listeners. And Hilary, hopefully you're up for coming back on at some point in the future and we can learn even more, because I'm sure there's a whole fountain of knowledge in there that we haven't discussed that can help people. So thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You'll have to go to the diary.
Thank you.
Thanks, Frank. Thanks, Marion.